Okay, guys. So welcome to the channel, and I have an announcement for you guys. Christ is King, and not only that, but you see these Hebrew letters that are right next to me. They say Jesus Christ is King. Yes, Christ is Messiah in Hebrew. So just to kind of rub it a little more, I added Jesus. So it's Jesus Christ is King. In Hebrew, it's Mashiach, Yeshua, Mashiach. I don't know the rest of the Hebrew. But yes, that it says Christ is King, and that's available in the store. Go to the merch store. There are two links right now, and there's the Streamlab link where if you guys want to donate, just donate or whatever you want on the Streamlabs. Also, if you guys, whoever's watching, if you guys want to donate through the super chat, that also works. But also go to the merch store and get the shirts, get the hoodie, and it says Jesus Christ is King right here in Hebrew. This is the Hebrew version. There's also an Arabic version. Check it out. Yeah, this is the Arabic version. Same thing. It says Jesus Christ is King. So if you have any Jewish friends, any Arabic friends, and you just want to let them know that Jesus Christ is King, buy the shirts, buy the sweatshirts, go to the merch store and just buy them and help support the channel. And I also just wanted to show you guys, a conversation between Nick Fuentes and Jeremy Boring, and this is very rare because Nick Fuentes is definitely not the guy that Jeremy Boring would be associating with, but recently with the whole Candace Owens being fired because she said Christ is King and because she does not support the mainstream narrative, that's basically why she got fired. So yes, guys, so like, share, subscribe, and go to the merch page and just buy the shirts. Buy this Hebrew version of Jesus Christ is King, or buy the Arabic version, Jesus Christ is King, or buy both. Buy both. Buy some for yourself, buy some for your family. But yeah, check it out. Go to the links and let's just watch this conversation, or sorry, not watch, listen, because there is no video. It's mostly audio. They're talking on Twitter X, they're on Twitter Spaces, and they're just having a conversation about Ben Shapiro.
And what Andrew Klavan said was about Ben Shapiro. And he said that he would not wish Shapiro to become Christian because if Shapiro became Christian, it would cause devastation to himself and everybody in his life. And he almost seemed to suggest that we shouldn't try to convert Shapiro, to come on to him in this way and say, you should be Christian, Christ is King. Even in the context of evangelizing, Klavan seemed to push back on that and say, actually, God put Shapiro where he needs to be and doesn't want Shapiro to be Christian, doesn't want Shapiro to say Christ is King because he's, pushing family values or something in his station as head of Daily Wire, or rather as the head pundit on Daily Wire. So I'm wondering, do you agree with that? What is your position on what Klavan said? Because to me, I think that's the important context when he said that Christ is King is anti-Semitic. And I think a lot of Christians were offended by that.
I think it's a bit of a misrepresentation of what Drew said, though I will acknowledge that Drew is often more clear because he's often more prepared. He went on the air that day and spoke from the heart, which isn't always what he does. He's usually more prepared than that. Drew, and also I want to be clear that Andrew Klavan can speak for himself and he's not here. But knowing Andrew Klavan and knowing his relationship with Ben Shapiro and knowing a lot about his theological outlook, having read his book, The Great Good Thing, about his own conversion, I think that it's fair to say that Drew was not implying that there is a way to the Father that doesn't go through the Son. I think that what he was saying is God is sovereign. He has people where he wants them. He has someone like Ben where he wants him. He has someone like Jordan Peterson where he wants him. And Drew, my understanding of what Drew said is that Drew's belief is that God has them where he wants them and he'll get it sorted out. And that's, I don't think Drew would, if he were here, I don't think that he would say that it's wrong to evangelize Ben Shapiro any more than it's wrong to evangelize anyone else. That there's again, context matters. There's a way to evangelize someone that is, useful and probably a way to evangelize someone that is not useful. But I don't think that Drew was trying to intimate that he believes that there is a path to the Father that doesn't go through the Son. Obviously, salvation's a mystery. We're to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. And Drew is a Christian. I mean, again, I would encourage anyone to read The Great Good Thing, Drew's book about his own journey to Christianity, which is as unique as Andrew Klavan himself is. But I understand why a person who listened to what Drew said on his podcast might have come away with the impression that he was suggesting that let's not invoke Ben, let's invoke Jordan Peterson here, because it sidesteps other issues that are contested on this particular conversation. But Jordan Peterson, Drew is not suggesting that Jordan Peterson has a path to the Father that doesn't go through the Son. He's suggesting that that God is using Jordan Peterson where Jordan Peterson is, and that not everything about how God works is always exactly obvious to us. Also, we live at a moment in linear time, and God takes a much different view, probably, than we do. And I think that's fair to say, since there are no second generation Christians, and everyone on this space who is a Christian at some point was not a Christian. So I think that's what Drew was speaking to.
I don't know what he means by there are no second generation Christians. I mean, like, we have entire families where someone's raised in a Christian home, they grow up, they get married, they have kids, they teach their kids to be Christians, and they have grandkids, and the grandkids, they teach those grandkids to be Christians, and so forth. So, like, I mean, yeah, it's possible that, like, a lot of times, some people are raised in the faith and they don't keep the faith. Then there's but then there's situations where it's generational. There are people who are second generation Christians. So I don't know why Jeremy Boring said there are no such thing as second generation Christians. I don't get it.
Well, but he said specifically, and I'm not, I'm just trying to ask the question here. He said specifically, because I just pulled up the quote, and I'm not trying to rip him apart, because I do the same. I do a live stream. People take what I say out of context. Sometimes people that are friendly with you do this, but I'll be charitable and say, fair enough. If he was off the cuff, I get it. He said, if Ben were to embrace Jesus, it would cause devastation to his family, to the people who love him, to the people who listen to him, to his position in the world. Now, I know you just gave an explanation. You can't speak for him, obviously, but that's a pretty outrageous statement to say that. I mean, literally, that's the quote. To embrace Jesus would cause devastation to his life and his position. I mean, certainly, just on its face, the denotative meaning of those words, surely you would disagree with this, right? That it is always the right moment to embrace Christianity, and that, like, obviously, no devastation could come from embracing Jesus, right? I mean, do you agree with this? I know I'm not trying to say take a side against Klavan, but I mean, let's just say the words as they are. You would disagree with this, right?
I disagree that that the denotative meaning is the operative meaning in this setting. I don't have the transcript in front of me, but I recall that at the beginning of it, Drew's actual.
Well, I just know that Andrew Klavan was making excuses for Ben Shapiro, saying, oh, he will lose contact with his family. They'll be so devastated. Well, Jesus Christ did say he came to bring a sword, between father and son and other family members. It's because there will be people who will accept what he says. There are people who do not accept what he says. And a lot of times it's your family members. And Jesus Christ said, whoever loves his mother or father more than me, well, you're not one of his followers after that. And it's so Andrew Klavan is kind of discouraging Ben Shapiro from repenting, from joining the church. Like, Andrew Klavan is basically saying, oh, Ben Shapiro doesn't have to. It would be so devastating for his family. Christians went into the gladiator pits knowing that they'll be torn apart by lions. Christians in the ancient world went through suffering and abuse, knowing that if they were Christians, the communists would kill them. Nazis murdered many Christians in camps. and so forth. And people were not afraid to stand up for their faith. And many people were not afraid to convert. And at the end of the day, like, do you love the truth more, or do you love your family more? Like, do you love Jesus Christ more, God, or your family more? And so, like, Andrew Clavin, he's just like discouraging Ben Shapiro from accepting Christianity. That's what it sounds like to me.
Opening statement about this particular issue did involve the primacy of Christ. Of course, I believe that devastation can come into people's lives when they embrace Christ. That devastation is worth it for the life that one has in Christ and for the freedom that one has in Christ. But of course, Christ sets father against son and mother against daughter. And so obviously a lot of devastation comes into people's lives when they receive the gospel. I mean, Paul himself was shipwrecked and imprisoned and beaten and tormented. It's not child's play to become a Christian. But to the extent that you're saying that what Drew is intimating is that now is a bad time for Ben to be a Christian because it would hurt his public position, I think that that's an uncharitable view of what Drew was likely saying, which is far more likely to be Jordan is where Jordan is, and Ben is where Ben is, and God is doing what God is doing. And obviously these issues are obviously the issue of where a person is on their journey is a very complex one. But no, I don't believe if Drew were here today in this conversation that he would say that there's a bad time for someone to give their life to Christ.
I think, and I'm just going to say this, and then other people can jump in. But I think, and I appreciate I think you're giving a thoughtful response to this. But if I were to just rebut kind of the whole premise, I think it's very interesting that when it comes to saying Jesus is king, or when it comes to remarks that Candace has made, or remarks that Ye has made, or even someone like myself has made, it seems like it's always the most uncharitable. It's always the motive is impugned, always extrapolate the worst possible idea or the worst possible intention. But when it comes to the people on your side, when Ben Shapiro says, well, Jesus was a rebel that got killed for his trouble, hands up, don't nail. When Andrew Clavin says, well, Shapiro can't accept Jesus because it would cause devastation in his life, well, we almost have to read into it the contrary meaning, like the connotative meaning or the intended meaning is like the opposite of what was said. So when it comes to people that talk about Israel or Jewish power.
And what's interesting, a lot of the friends of Ben Shapiro who claim to be Christians, what's interesting, you don't really see any pushback. Like no one comes back to this. Like no one confronts Ben Shapiro on Daily Wire and tries to debate him and ask him, hey, what do you mean Jesus was a rebel? Like there is like no historical evidence that Jesus Christ was a rebel. And what's interesting, even a lot of educated scholarly rabbis would not even make that claim that Jesus was a rebel. I don't know of any serious scholar, aside from Shmuley and Barclay, who will make up some sort of conspiracy theories. But other than that, like even scholarly Jews would not make the claim that Ben Shapiro makes regarding Jesus Christ being this rebel who tried to rise up against Rome. There is like no the gospel evidence does not show this, and the other historical extra biblical evidence, it does not show that at all. But for some reason, the fans of Ben Shapiro, the friends of Ben Shapiro, like there is like no confrontation. He's not being confronted on that issue, and isn't he the guy who says facts don't care about your feeling? Well, like these are not facts. What Ben Shapiro says are not facts about Jesus. They're straight up lies. And like I don't know like how it hurts Judaism. Like basically, if Jesus is not a rebel, I don't know how that hurts Judaism. Like why does Ben Shapiro want Jesus to be a rebel? Because there is no historical evidence that Jesus was actually causing any sort of rebellion, even from a secular perspective. Even from a secular atheistical perspective, and you're just objectively studying history, you don't have any evidence that Jesus was calling for violence at the time. Just saying.
Or, when they say Christ is king, well, they got to be super, super careful about how they say it. But if somebody says hands up, don't nail, when somebody says transfer is not a dirty word, which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when somebody says, accepting Jesus is going to cause devastation. Well, it's uncharitable to like read what they say. And I think that's kind of to the point of even what somebody earlier was saying, which is this hypocrisy about cancel culture, and I know you're not these people, but Dave Rubin is to me the perfect example. As you know, the guy made his career saying, hey, I'm a liberal, but even though we disagree, we can have a conversation. Don't burn my book, this kind of thing. And then I have.
And honestly, conservatives simply like embracing like liberalism into the movement by saying, "Oh, we're all fellow Americans," like I believe in your constitutional rights, and this whole enabling. Now we have like basically Skittles conservatives. Now we have conservatives who are GAY now because you could still be conservative. Conservatives allowed this. It's because they allowed this to happen, and we have Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA encouraging Skittles conservatives to adopt children. So, like, how much ground are conservatives going to just cede to the liberals? And Dave Rubin, Nick Fuentes is bringing him up. Like he's this liberal. Like, what does he have to do with conservatism?
Personal knowledge that when people step out of line on Israel, he makes calls. Now, you may refute that. Other people may refute that. That is something I've heard. And of course, he said on the Patrick Bet-David show, day after Candace Owens debated Barkley, he said, well, I don't consider Candace a friend anymore. And, that's just the nature of the thing we're in. And it's like, I don't really know what that means, because Rubin will have on socialists, communists, leftists, progressives, as well as many conservatives, and he'll be amicable towards them, and nothing is off limits. But it does seem that one thing is off limits, and that's a thing that's very close to his heart. And that's the thing that's also intertwined with his business partner, who's at Hebrew University, and all these things. And I think what people are trying to say is that, it just seems like there's a great big double standard when it concerns Israel, Jews, anything regarding those kinds of topics as pertains to cancel culture, the free marketplace of ideas, and everything else. Just to be honest with you, cards on the table. I'm not trying to interrogate you. I am actually listening to your response. That's how I.
Honestly, the free marketplace of ideas is so cringe. That means anyone can promote anything. Well, I don't understand how this is conservatism. Like, conservatives will say, "Oh, we believe in freedom of speech." Yeah, you're basically allowing your enemies to spread lies against you. And what's interesting is that a lot of people, Gen Z, they're very impressionable. Like, they go for good graphics, good quality sound, and a lot of that just basically is ignored by the conservative movement. They're kind of bland when it comes to fashion, when it comes to graphics, when it comes to entertainment, and the liberals, they're controlling the entertainment industry, and so basically, conservatives are just ceding so much ground to these liberals, to the David Rubins, to Charlie Kirks, and they're promoting this idea of the free market of ideas. Like, what is this? The free marketplace of ideas. Why? Why do you want your enemies to have so much freedom? Why do you want to allow them to spread any nonsense? The free market of ideas should not even exist. It should be basically banned.
I feel, and that's kind of how I felt my whole career.
Yeah.
Because last thing, I used to be. I'm not saying this like you're missing my $15 subscription or whatever, but when I was a teenager, I was a huge fan of all you guys, like Shapiro and like Clavin and even like Bill Whittle. I've been watching you guys since Truth Revolt and PJ Media, and I was putting out all those arguments. People be surprised to learn that I was losing friends in high school because I was saying, hey, Israel's fought off 4 wars of extermination, and they're the most moral army. There's the beacon of democracy in a sea of barbarism. But then I started to notice as I got older the peculiar nature of this, the special attention to Israel, the fact that there never seemed to be a criticism entertained, that always fell outside the scope of the conversation. And then when I met people from Daily Wire and I asked them, I got rebuffed, I got shut down, I got canceled. And then people like Cassie Dillon, who has since converted away from Christianity to Judaism, which is apostasy, a great sin, she clips the show and sends it to Media Matters. So, I mean, you guys, and by the way, you say no one likes the ADL. Shapiro was reposting ADL after October 7th when Greenblatt went on and put everybody on MSNBC on blast, because I think you guys don't have a problem with the ADL. You have a problem with Greenblatt, because Greenblatt supports BLM and, he's a left-wing partisan. So, that's where I'm coming from. It's not a place of Jew hatred. It's just a place of, I mean, I'm America first. I'm a Christian. These other people, they lost me when they started canceling over Israel stuff and encouraging apostasy and or saying we can't convert to Christianity. There's this Judeo-Christian thing. You lost me because it's just not true.
No such thing as Judeo-Christian. There's only Christian and Christ is King, and they don't want to hear it.
I think my only response to that would be that, and I think I've spoken long enough on spaces that I wasn't actually invited to, so I appreciate everybody letting me speak at all. I think that the amount of charity that we give to one is based on their body of work. I can give some charity to Andrew Klavan's positions on his broadcast this last week because he's spoken so extensively about his faith. He's written extensively about his faith. He's probably one of the most forthright people that I've ever met. You can't get him to not tell you exactly what he thinks. And so I have a broad context with which to judge the things that he says. I have a broad context to understand the things that Ben says. And, Nick, to the extent that you've said things like, when we come to power, we're going to kill the perfidious Jews, it's very hard then not to keep that as context in mind when you say that you're not anti-Semitic. And I understand that.
Nick Fuentes never said that, by the way.
You're a very funny guy. You make very subtle arguments, and you tell a lot of jokes. It's very hard after a certain amount of time, though, to believe that all of those jokes are jokes. And so, to the extent that you had a bad experience with some of the young people who worked for me 10 years ago or 9 years ago or whatever it was, 8 years ago, that's unfortunate. I wish that things had turned out a little bit different than they had. At the same time, I'm very concerned about a lot of the things that you say now. I think you take a very radical position. I hope when you say Christ is King that you mean it.
Well, I for sure totally mean it when I say Christ is King. Also, guys, don't forget to go to the merch page. Click on the link. It's in the description. Buy yourself the Hebrew version of Jesus Christ is King. And it's a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and I think there's a mug too. Also, if you want to get the Arabic version, it says Jesus Christ is King. Also, t-shirt, sweatshirt, and also a mug, I think. But you go to the merch page, buy the shirts, buy the Hebrew version, buy the Arabic version, whatever you like, and just promote the idea amongst your Jewish and Arabic friends that Jesus Christ is King.
If I may, I'd like to. I don't know if Standis Owens wants to respond to that.
I don't want to take up all your time, Jeremy, and that's fair enough. And I hope you don't see this as me like the aggrieved, like bitter guy. Or obviously, I forged my own path. I did my own thing. To the credit of what you guys say, I kind of did that, didn't I? You say, oh, well, start your own thing or whatever. And I basically did that. So it's not sour grapes. I'm just trying to...
Wait a minute. Is Standis Owens Nick Fuentes? Okay. Well, yeah, it says right here, speaker. So all the host, co-host, muted. Other speakers are muted. Then everyone else is a listener. And then right here it says speaker. Oh, so I guess Nick Fuentes, is he still banned on Twitter? Oh, that sucks. Come on, Elon. Like, you literally just unbanned Alex Jones because he simply apologized for, like, whatever he said regarding a certain situation in Connecticut. But Nick Fuentes, why isn't he back on Twitter? Yeah, so I guess Standis Owens is Nick Fuentes. Wow, so he still has to be in hiding on Twitter. That really sucks. Come on, Elon. Do your job.
Tell people where I'm coming from, because I think a lot of people, when Candace Owens says Christ is King, they bring my name into it and they say, oh, is this Groyper, Fuentes stuff? And, to your point about saying killing Jews or whatever, again, I think I would say the same thing to you about that you would say about Klavan, which is that, what I said is that clearly, and I think you might even agree with this, although you probably shouldn't say it because it would, it would be bad. But what I said is that I think there really are like devil worshippers involved in the government. I think they're really sadistic people. And I don't mean like super magical conspiratorial stuff, but I mean, I think there are some really sick, sadistic people that run the country. And what I said is that when you get these people who believe in this esoteric stuff and they really are devil worshippers, I said, these are people that you got to give the death penalty. I said, when it comes to like, when I see these, drag artists at the Padres thing, and they're doing a dance on the crucifix and stuff like that. To me, that's satanic. And I think you got to draw a line. You got to introduce some blasphemy restrictions. And so that's what I mean, I know they took it out of context.
Yes, right here. Nick Fuentes says we should introduce some blasphemy restrictions. Conservatives would be the first ones to fight you and demand that you better not violate the First Amendment. You better respect the First Amendment, man. Like, they would literally fight for the rights of the liberal to openly blaspheme God and his holy name and his church. They literally are willing to die for the rights of these degenerates to publicly blaspheme. This is what happens when you have this free marketplace of ideas.
Said, oh, he wants to kill everybody. And the media was so happy that I said it in a rather unfortunate way. But if you play back the clip, that's what I said. Even the Holy War thing, I know Inspiring Philosophies here, he reviewed my rally where I said, we're going to make them die in a holy war. Very similar. And I will concede this. Okay, I really shouldn't. It's not smart of me to do this, but I tell the truth. I will concede something to you, Jeremy, and to Andrew and to Adam, although I shouldn't. It's bad politics. But, I really don't hate anybody, and I love everybody. And my vision for the country is for everyone to have rights and dignity and to not be treated with cruelty. And if you watch all my speeches, I say that in all my speeches. So it is there going back years. But I do understand that when you make jokes about Hitler, I understand that Jews who are already have a history where they feel like they're attacked and this kind of stuff. I understand why then you don't have a lot of, as you say, charitability. They are not, they don't feel like they can extend charitability towards me when I say, hey, I love you guys, but you make these edgy jokes. So I get it. And I think that as I get older, I'm trying to reel that in because, you got to remember, I got my start when I was 18 years old. Ben Shapiro was attacking me when I was 18, calling me an anti-Semite. I was under attack by Reagan Battalion and Benny Politzik around my 19th birthday. And as I've gotten older, I've come to, I think, moderate myself a little bit in some ways. Some would say the opposite, but at least internally that's happening. So I get where you're coming from, but my strong position is just that we got to put America first. America's got to be a Christian country. And as long as guys like Shapiro cannot say Christ is king and they refuse to say America first, I think it's notable. Ben Shapiro has never uttered those words. I don't think they should have leadership in America. So, people can say, well, I don't like what you say about this and that. I don't like that guys like Shapiro will not say Christ is king, America first. I think they forfeit their ability to lead. I would never listen to somebody that can't say those things because, those things are really the foundation of wisdom, which is
honestly and basically stopped listening to Ben Shapiro. Once in a while, I used to listen to him just to hate listen, and then for the past year now, I just don't even listen to him anymore. Only a rare occasion if he's invited on some sort of show and it's some sort of mainstream liberal show out of curiosity, I might turn that video on. But other than that, I really don't care about Ben Shapiro's opinions on anything. Regarding geopolitics, regarding morality. Why should I listen to him? I have other great people that I could listen to on YouTube, other alternatives. And so Ben Shapiro should not be taken seriously. He should not be a leader. He does not have Christian values, therefore automatically disqualified. But for some reason, conservatives love to promote this idea. Oh, as long as you promote this weird idea of liberty while pretending to be conservative. It's so weird, so strange. So are you conservatives or are you liberals?
Love of God, which, as you say, goes through the Son, as we all know, can only go through Jesus, and oikophilia, which is, your love of your home, your love of your homeland that you reside in, not some other homeland. So I just want to get that across to you. It's kind of a...
And Ben Shapiro really loves a different homeland. Like, this country for him is number 2. So, like Nick Fuentes says, Ben Shapiro and people like him should not be in leadership positions at all.
Strange circumstance that we're talking, but that's how I feel about it.
And I'll say this, Nick, that I listen to your show quite often. I think you're one of the most talented people out there, and I'm very concerned about some of the things that you're saying. I wish, I think that you're a very gifted communicator, and so it's hard for me to imagine that you consistently miscommunicate some of these things. And I'll hope that I'm wrong and yield the floor back to all the people who actually came on here to talk to each other.
I just pulled up.
Yeah, so Jeremy Boring, he had like nothing to say about that. Like, he did not address the issue. He just said, "Oh well, we definitely do not misrepresent your views." He basically saying that that Nick Fuentes is basically this evil man who's anti-Semitic and he should not be trusted, and we never ever misrepresented his views. That's basically what he said, just in a different way. He presented it differently, but yeah. So that's basically like the video I just wanted to share with you guys today. So remember, Christ is King, and He's our Lord and Savior. There's only one God. That's the Trinity. We worship the Trinity, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Go to the merch page. Buy the merch. Buy the Hebrew edition of Jesus Christ is King, or the Arabic edition of Jesus Christ is King. T-shirts, sweatshirts, and mugs. Go ahead, go to the merch page right now. It's in the description. Let me see if there's any chats before I sign off. Any comments from you guys? No comments. All right, I guess nobody has anything to say, nothing to add. All right, so yeah, no live comments, no super chats. Okay, yeah, so don't forget to go to the merch channel and buy the merch. Let me show you real quick, in case you guys did not see it. Right here, that's the Hebrew edition right there, and then that's the Arabic edition.